Hello and welcome to another bite-sized faith video. I hope you can hear me because I'm coming to you live from the top of the parking structure. It's so funny to be filming here because me and my husband have been having like so many dreams about parking structures, and I'm like, what is the symbolism of that? So anyways, today I wanted to talk a lot about what it feels like sometimes when you lay things down for the Lord, when you just kind of sacrifice sometimes the very blessings that He has blessed you with, and how that feels. And it reminds me of Abraham and Isaac, when Abraham was called to sacrifice Isaac, and it was the very promise that God made him, that you will be fruitful, like many nations will come from you, like you can't even count the amount of people who will be coming from your bloodline. And he's like, yeah, so how in the world am I sacrificing my son? But even when he went up to the mountaintop to do that, he said, we'll be back. Like he told his servants, like, okay, so we're going to go up and we're going to give a sacrifice to the Lord, and we'll be back down. And so like there's definitely been times in my life, like one in particular that I wanted to talk about was back in the spring of 2019. I remember I was doing pretty well with influencing and getting sponsorship opportunities and even getting like paid ministry opportunities. And then all of a sudden the Lord called me to lay it all down. And He said, don't accept any more sponsorships and you're done with the ministry opportunities that are paying you. He's like, you're done. Have you guys seen that like viral, like I think it's a TikTok or Instagram reel? It's like, you're done, you're done. So he basically said, you're done with this for now. And I always knew it was a for now thing, because I'm like, Lord, this is something you told me to do, that like my gifts and talents will make room for me. Like it's not that I'm meant to serve you and just be homeless and hungry and like destitute and sick or something like that. Some people think that that's what we're called to do as Christians, is to just be like, hey, I'm just like suffering for the Lord. I'm just always suffering for the Lord. And it's like, no, I'm pretty sure He promised us some blessings. Yes, He said there will be trials of many kind, but take heart, I've overcome the world. So anyways, back on track. So I did that, and it was definitely an act of faith to do that, to lay down those opportunities. Because I mean, it feels good to have extra cash. It feels good to be like plumping up your savings. But then if the Lord says not to do something, there's always a reason. And it's not always like, oh, you lay down these opportunities, you'll get more other opportunities. Sometimes it's like you just need to lay it down and to focus on God, so that you can like prove like, hey, I'm willing to do whatever it is, God. Like you can trust me with little and you can trust me with much. If you say this season is over, it is over. If you say pick it back up, pick it back up. If you say never again, never again. And so I remember just thinking like, this doesn't make any sense. And there's a lot of times that that's happened in my life, but particularly this season, He's like, don't do that. And I was like, okay, it doesn't make sense, but I'm going to do that. And I mean, if you fast forward a year later, there was so much that God was calling me to do as far as being bold in the Lord. And it's kind of interesting how in those times where He called me to say things I didn't want to say, be in part of conversations and videos and viral like YouTube stuff that I didn't want to say it, I didn't necessarily want to be a part of, but I wanted to be obedient. And I was like, oh my gosh, Lord, like not only did you take away the opportunities you promised me, but now you're taking me into the lion's den. Like, what is this? And then I just obeyed. And who knew, you know, with 2020 coming around and just how it's been these past couple years, how aggravated people are, how quick they're willing to fight, how quick they're willing to let you go as a friend, as a family member, how quick they're willing to distance themselves because they don't agree with you. You've had to develop a thick skin. You've had to develop such wisdom and discernment. You've had to develop such a close walk with God to not be lost in these times, to not be hopeless and desperate in these times. And even just some personal things that happened with me right before, you know, the pandemic kind of started in the United States. There was like some just very disappointing, is putting it lightly, disappointing things that God told me to do, that I had to let go of some people, some things, and I was like, what in the world? But even with that, it helped me. I didn't even realize the kind of bondage I was in certain relationships. I didn't really understand how much I was just kind of like walking and reacting in life through a lens of trauma that He wanted to heal me from. So I mean, spring 2020 or spring 2019, He told me, lay it all down and focus on me, focus on your walk with me, become bold and courageous and all that stuff. And then by spring 2020, I'm pregnant with a son that I had been praying for years, that God had told me about since I was in high school. Like a lot of different opportunities were coming, a lot of unexpected blessings financially were coming. Just so much change for us just in the following year. And I know that our obedience is the thing that opened the door to that. And in 1 Samuel 15:22, read the whole chapter, but it's talking about like obedience versus sacrifice. And it's like the Lord desires obedience over sacrifice. But also what I've noticed sometimes in my life and in the Bible and different people who've followed the Lord is like sometimes obedience requires sacrifice. It requires laying things down. And so here I am, you know, years later, it's 2023, and the Lord has finally now even told me to pick back up with some influencer stuff, some ministry opportunities, and some, you know, getting back into the swing of things with YouTube and stuff that I had laid down, and in order to do other types of opportunities that he brought me. But it's kind of interesting too, once you lay things down and you're obedient, what I've noticed in my life is when I do that and when things seem to be falling apart, it becomes like a launch pad for like a new season in life. So even as hard as it is and how scary as it is, it's also exciting for me at the same time, now that I kind of know like how he does things and like his process and like the rhythm of seasons and stuff. So I just wanted to encourage you guys, like if God has called you to lay things down, I know you hear this a lot, that visual where it's like a little girl with a teddy bear and it's all raggedy, and Jesus has a huge new teddy bear behind his back, and he's like, give me your teddy bear, and she's like, no, like I love him. And then you don't, like, she has no idea there's this huge new teddy bear like behind his back. He's just waiting for her hands to be open to receive it. So let the things go, lay them down, empty your hands so that your hands can be ready to receive the new thing. So I just wanted to encourage you guys. I hope this was helpful. Let me know if you have your own testimonies, if you have a prayer request, or if you have any other advice or any other examples and scriptures that you want to share to encourage people. And thank you again for coming to another Bite-Sized Faith, and I will see you in my next video.